Welcome back to the show, my friends. Today we're diving into a topic that touches every single one of us. Whether you're dating, engaged, married, or even reflecting on past relationships, we're talking about how to avoid a breakup. Now, let's be real. Breakups don't usually happen overnight. They happen slowly, quietly, almost invisibly, until one day it feels like the love has slipped through your fingers. And I don't know about you, but I've seen too many good relationships crumble. Not because the love wasn't there, but because the foundation was never strengthened. So today, we're not just talking about how to avoid the pain of a breakup. We're talking about how to build something so resilient, so nourishing, that it can withstand the storms of life. Here's what I want you to think about. Why do relationships really end? Psychologists tell us it's rarely the big explosive fights that destroy love. It's not usually the dramatic cheating scandals or the final shouting match. Those are the symptoms we notice. The truth is, relationships die from 1,000 small cuts. The unmet needs, the unspoken words, the lack of emotional safety. Dr. John Gottman, one of the most respected experts on marriage and relationships, has spent decades studying couples, and he can actually predict divorce with over 90% accuracy just by observing how couples interact for a short time. What does he look for? Not the obvious things, not whether they argue about money or parenting styles. He looks for what he calls the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse in relationships: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Let me break that down. Criticism. It's not just pointing out a mistake, it's attacking your partner's character, saying, "You're so lazy," instead of, "I feel overwhelmed when the house is messy." Contempt. Rolling your eyes, using sarcasm, belittling. This one is especially dangerous. Gottman says contempt is the single greatest predictor of divorce. Defensiveness. Always making excuses or playing the victim instead of taking responsibility. Stonewalling. Shutting down, withdrawing, refusing to engage. These aren't just bad habits, they are silent intimacy killers. So before we even talk about solutions, I want you to pause and reflect. Do you notice patterns of criticism in your relationship? Is there contempt, sarcasm, dismissive remarks? Do you get defensive instead of listening? Or maybe you stonewall, go silent, walk away, shut down? If so, catch them now. Because addressing these small cracks early can save your relationship from collapsing later. Let's move deeper into something I call the trap of conditional love. Conditional love sounds like this: I love you because you make me happy. I love you because you always support me. Now, at first, that doesn't sound bad. Who doesn't want to be loved for making someone happy? But here's the danger. If love is conditional, it's fragile. The moment you stop meeting that condition, the moment you can't always make them happy or can't always be available, the love feels threatened. Unconditional love, on the other hand, says, I love you, period. Not for what you do, but for who you are. One of the most powerful models of this comes straight from Scripture. John 3:16 tells us, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son." Notice, it doesn't say, "For God so loved the perfect people," or "For God so loved the ones who got it all right." No, it says he loved the world, even in its brokenness. That's unconditional love. And if we want to build relationships that don't easily break, we have to move from, "I love you because," to, "I love you regardless." That shift changes everything. So let me ask you, is the love you're giving and the love you're receiving conditional? Or is it rooted in something deeper? Now let's talk about something people often skip over: self-love. Here's the truth. If you don't love yourself, you will always depend on your partner to make you feel whole. And that is a heavy burden for any human being to carry. One of the reasons breakups feel so devastating is because many of us tie our identity and self-worth to another person. So when that person leaves, it doesn't just feel like you lost them, it feels like you lost yourself. But here's the flip side. When you build a strong foundation of self-love, rejection doesn't destroy you. It shapes you. It teaches you. I want you to hear this clearly. You are worthy of love, whether someone else sees it or not. So let me ask you, are you entering relationships from a place of fullness or from emptiness, hoping to be filled? If your partner disappeared tomorrow, would you still see yourself as whole? These aren't easy questions, but they matter, because self-love is the root of resilience. Without it, you will always live in fear of abandonment. With it, you can love freely without losing yourself. Now let's move to expectations, the silent breaker of relationships. We all have them, and some expectations are healthy. We expect honesty, respect, safety. Those are non-negotiables, but often we pile on unrealistic expectations. We expect our partner to read our minds, to always know what we need, to never disappoint us. But friends, let me be honest, no one can live up to that. And when they inevitably fall short, frustration grows. Resentment grows, and over time that resentment poisons the connection. Healthy relationships require realistic expectations. Instead of expecting perfection, expect progress. Instead of demanding constant happiness, expect growth. This doesn't mean lowering your standards, it means freeing your partner from the impossible pressure of being your everything. Because when you hold on to unrealistic expectations, you're not just hurting them, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. So what can we actually do? How do we avoid the slow drift that leads to breakups? Here are 5 practical steps you can start today. 1. Practice self-love daily. Remind yourself that your worth isn't tied to someone else's opinion. Journal affirmations, invest in your passions, spend time alone to recharge. 2. Choose unconditional love, instead of, I love you because, try, I love you even when. That subtle shift creates safety. 3. Communicate honestly and kindly. Don't assume your partner knows what you need, speak up. But speak with kindness, not accusation. 4. Release unrealistic expectations. Give your partner permission to be human. Love them in their imperfections. 5. Grow together, not apart. Accept that people change. Choose to grow with your partner, not against them. I once counseled a couple who thought their marriage was over. They barely spoke, and when they did, it was filled with criticism. Every word felt like a jab. But when they committed to one simple practice, daily check-ins, just 10 minutes of honest conversation every night, they discovered something powerful. Beneath the anger was deep longing. She longed to feel seen, he longed to feel respected. They weren't enemies, they were simply unheard. And today, years later, they're not just still married, they're thriving. But I've also seen the opposite. Couples who ignored the warning signs, they laughed off contempt, they excused disrespect, they brushed aside neglect. And when the breakup finally came, they almost always said the same thing. I should have addressed it sooner. Friends, don't wait until it's too late. So let's pause right here. Think about your own relationships, past or present. Where do you see patterns that need healing? Where are you holding on to conditions instead of loving freely? Where are your expectations suffocating connection instead of nourishing it? My friend, avoiding a breakup isn't about pretending problems don't exist. It's about building resilience. It's about practicing unconditional love, grounded in self-worth, guided by grace. And remember this, you are worthy of love, not because of what you do, not because you're perfect, but simply because of who you are. When you live from that truth, you don't just avoid breakups, you create relationships that stand the test of time. Thank you for joining me in this conversation. If this spoke to your heart, share it with someone who needs encouragement today. And in the comments, I'd love to hear, What's one step you're committing to this week to strengthen your relationship? Until next time, keep choosing love, the kind that builds, not breaks.